Broadcasting live from our headquarters in Kanifing, and this is the news coming to you straight from Banjul. Also coming up, Section 82 of the 1997 Constitution invoked as 25 pardoned prisoners reunite with their families, the third of its kind since President Barrow assumed office. The need for economic independence has been a driving force for the African Union since its inception. We take an exclusive look at the possibility of an economically independent Africa. National stakeholders in the business of justice conclude a forum aimed at mapping out a blueprint for the country. And South African President Jacob Zuma says he was not opposed to a commission of inquiry into his government. Well, this and other stories coming ahead in the next 30 minutes. I am Fatu Jalimbai. Welcome to the news. President Adama Barrow has pardoned 24 prisoners from Mile 2 and 1 from Janjanbureh prisons as provided in Section 82 of the 1997 Second Republican Constitution. The prisoners were grateful to have been reunited with their families. Alcido Kamara picks up the rest of that story.
Free and heading home after a presidential pardon. These prisoners are the latest to walk through the gates of prisons since the coming of the new government. Interior Ministry official who presided over the release of the prisoners urged them to make the best use of this opportunity in changing their lives and become good citizens.
I would like to advise them to think positive, to aim higher, and then it's a new Gambia. I think now they're out, they should really be part of the new Gambia and do a positive productivity.
Abdullah Diba, among the pardonists who served 1 year 7 months, appealed to the government to consider the welfare of the prisoners. As he prepares to head home for a happy reunion with his family and friends, Diba also took time to advise the youth to desist from illicit drug abuse and trafficking.
The other major concern is the entire image of the prisons and its role and functions. I think government need to look at this very carefully. This place should be a rehabilitation center. It's not a place where people can just come here, they are put in cells for 6-7 years, they go out, they don't even go out with a butut, and they go back to crime the next day. I mean, I think this is a matter of great concern. We should look at how can we make this place self-sustaining. How can people come here and learn trade? You know, the way that prisoners are treated here, these are all major concerns that I think we need to look at very carefully.
This group is the latest batch of prisoners who have been released from the country's prisons. Authorities say the move has helped to reduce the numbers in the prisons.
The importance of pardon is to go out and become a meaningful member to the society, but not to recome back on fresh charges, which is frustrating our efforts. Likewise, that of government's efforts. So this is what we want to put to the population, to the country at large. Let us be watchdogs to our families, counsel them. Let us not keep them distance. We counsel them so that the message will get into them and they will prove to become meaningful and productive Gambians in the future.
Prison officer revealed that the pardoned prisoners have served half of their sentences. Saidu Kamara, GRTS News.
On May 25, 1963, 31 African leaders convened a summit meeting which led to the formation of the Organization of African Unity, OAU, now the African Union with 55 member countries. 54 years on, GRTS explores the economic independence of the African continent, especially in relations to the Gambia.
Yourselves from mental slavery, none but ourselves can free our mind.
It was the rhyme that broke the yoke of colonialism in Africa. The year was 1965 when the Gambia gained its independence from Great Britain. 2 years into the birth of African liberation, was a poverty-driven country ready to address its economic crisis, as many regarded the idea of independence as unwise at the time.
If I hear African Liberation Day, I would suggest that it becomes African Liberation Day -- African Reflection Day, because liberation in this context is conceptualized, but it is not practical. Are we free economically? Are we free culturally? Are we free politically? But these are questions one needs to ask yourself.
In 1976, 6 years into the Gambia's first republican status, the country's political leadership started the process of pursuing foreign policy objectives that seeks to put the country on a sound economic pedestal. One such initiative was former President Jawara's visit to France in 1976 to foster cooperation on groundbreaking projects.
If I may start with the economic matters, which go beyond just bilateral cooperation, we have just embarked on a 5-year development program beginning last year, and in this we still have 1 or 2 projects which need financing, and among the things I discussed with the French authorities are 1 or 2 projects in our development program, and we hope that in the not too distant future we will work out ways and means of cooperating with France in implementing these particular projects.
From the outcome of Jawara's 30 years in the presidency to former President Jammeh's 22 years in power, we asked experts how the Gambian economy is doing.
We've not done too well in terms of outlining our priorities and directing the resources to where they belong to. Looking at the anecdotal evidence, we've had to rely, especially of late, we've had to rely a lot on donor funding for development projects. But looking at the statistics, I know we have the resources, the revenue base and structure to be able to sustainably fund this country, both in terms of recurrent and development expenditure.
As many African countries celebrate their hard-fought achievement of their freedom from European colonial powers, with many achieving 50 years of independence, experts believe it is imperative for African governments to pursue domestic economic policies than political rhetoric that deprive people of their liberty.
The way of seeing things as an African, and then to be more precise, as a Gambian, it is that Africa before was a victim of exploitation, and I would say it is still a victim of exploitation. And then now it becomes a victim of exploitation ushered by perception.
In terms of economic policy, I can tell you confidently that we are not completely independent in that. But this same state of affairs was inherited by the Jammeh regime from the Jawara regime. Generally, we are not doing too much of independent thinking in terms of economic policy, and it's mainly because of the antecedents. We've borrowed too much in the past, both during the Jawara and Jammeh government, and that is why IMF has that leverage to come and tell us what kind of policies to run. Are these policies intended for our development and growth? No. They are there for the Western financial behemoths.
As the Gambia still remains a country without uniform economic achievements, it is hard to predict its economic viability, since financial policies largely remains at the mercy of Western financial institutions. To a greater extent, African economies may look normal, but very far from existing realities to address the high rates of poverty and gainful employment. GRTS.
Now moving on, the Ministry of Justice recently concluded a 3-day National Stakeholders Conference on Justice and Human Rights. The 3-day gathering mapped out ways of reforming the country's judicial sector with focus on key thematic areas. Abdullah Baji tells us more.
The 3-day National Stakeholders Conference on Justice and Human Rights concluded with high hopes of reforms in the Gambia's judicial system. The gathering, which brought together legal practitioners, security personnel, civil society organizations, and victims of torture, looked at different issues, including media law reforms, truth and reconciliation, amongst others. One of the key partners at the event is the UNDP. The organization's resident coordinator highlighted the importance of the consultation, saying the issues discussed are crucial to the development of the country.
This is the beginning of an intensive consultation and dialogue, and I do hope that it will continue and will be broad-based, because the issues that were discussed here for the past 3 days has been very important for everybody and touches every single Gambian.
The participation of the country's security services is important, particularly the recent efforts aimed at ensuring reforms in that sector.
We are equally encouraged that the National Intelligence Agency has recently embraced and shown its willingness to build the capacity of its officers in the promotion of human rights, and we are very happy to work with them in this regard. This is indeed a very welcome initiative.
The representative of the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights assured participants of his office's commitment and support to the Gambia's development process.
National consultations are critical elements of the human rights-based approach to transitional justice. Through this initial stakeholder consultation and the consultations that will follow, there is the need to include communities affected by the former regime, and their participations and the transparency of the process is a key to come up with the most appropriate and context-specific transitional justice strategy for the Gambia.
The Attorney General and Minister of Justice expressed satisfaction at the 3-day deliberation, whilst adding that a lot of important issues came to light during the discussions.
I am, however, encouraged by the openness and candor with which the participants have expressed themselves in the past 3 days. This is hopefully the beginning of a continuous process of national consultations that will ultimately lead to the designing of a fitting transitional justice model that will suit the particular context of our country at this period in time.
The 3-day convergence, bringing together government officials and stakeholders, saw the discussion of important themes essential in improving the country's judicial system under the new administration. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Abdullah Baji.
Vision Development Foundation has disbursed over $500,000 to several beneficiaries, including the country's security services. The foundation, as we hear in this report by Modo S. Jallo, has been active in supporting development projects across the country.
This has now become a routine exercise for the head of Vision Development Foundation, Momodu Dabo, signing checks to be distributed to various beneficiaries of the foundation's latest support, individuals and institutions. The charitable organization's latest donation, which amounts to over $500,000, comes barely a month after a similar donation of over $700,000. The recent beneficiaries of the foundation's countless benevolence received significant amounts for various development purposes. Among the beneficiaries were some of the country's security services, communities, and individuals.
We have a very important project here, that is Latikunda Sabiji Market. I think for many of you, those who used to pass at the back here, it's always a problem. Anytime you go there, you have water stagnated on the road, it's disturbing everybody. So we've identified $50,000 for them.
The biggest beneficiary was a community in Brikama, which received a check for $200,000 meant for a water project. The police prosecution units received $30,000 for the purchase of IT equipment for the unit in the effective execution of their duty.
We're so grateful that they responded to our application, and this will go a long way in assisting us monitoring the cases that are pending in court, handled by prosecutors, not resorting to that manual way of searching of cases.
Yundum Army Barracks took delivery of a brand new electric cooker, whilst Gambia immigrants at Kotu Station also benefited.
We want to use this money to build a station for accommodate our officers to be able to execute their functions as immigration officers in a viable and conducive environment.
The other beneficiaries included the Latrikunda Savage Market, Jarakanikunda Village, and Rohi Jagam, a university student who was on the verge of missing her exams when the foundation came to her aid.
As I speak right now, I don't even have money to pay for tuition fee. An exam is coming just on the 12th of next month. I was worried and I was traumatized because I would have to defer again, having deferred for the first semester. So the scholarship will greatly help to impact in my academic studies and fulfilling my dream of being a graduate. So I'm thanking them a lot.
Vision Development Foundation has for the past years been very active in the fight against poverty by supporting numerous life-changing initiatives across the country. Now the foundation will shift its attention to helping needy Muslims in the holy month of Ramadan. Mohamed Estialo, GRTS News.
Now, still on the home front, Associated School Project Network, Gambia Senior Secondary School Chapter, has embarked on a sensitization program for schools in the provinces. As we hear in this report by Modulamin Sane, the awareness campaign championed by UNESCO centered on global citizenship, peace building, and sustainable development in education.
3 days, members of the Associated Schools Project Network, Gambia High Chapter, have been touring schools in the provinces to raise awareness of important issues. This initiative, which forms part of the Youth and Students Engagement Program under UNESCO NATCOM, is meant to sensitize students about issues relevant to their education.
Nobody greater than you. Education, you are the solution, the only solution to the global problems.
Gambia Senior Secondary School spearheaded the program for the second time. The team's first stop was at Pakalinding Upper Basic School, where they jointly attended presentation with Farafenye Upper Basic School. Here, the topic of discussion centered on global citizenship and sustainable development in education.
It is worthy to note that developing education is an important requirement for training young people to become more powerful beings for the acceleration of national development.
It was an interactive session for students who took part in the presentation, as they were also enlightened on the importance of peace.
Peace, education, and agriculture, and these are the most important things. We have learned a lot of things about peace, agriculture, and education.
A country cannot go without the sustenance of the development and peace building. Therefore, we, the young ones, we are the ones that can build a peace within ourselves first, in our homes and in our schools also.
Similar presentations were held in Brikamaba Upper Basic School in the Central River region.
The essence of sensitization is to be disseminated. Whatever has been learned here, let it not stop with them. Let them go, engage, interact with their parents, with their neighbors, with their mates at playing ground to educate their fellow students or other children across the country, so that we can continue to have a peaceful Gambia.
Some of the students who took part on the journey explained the life-changing experience they had during the excursion.
It is a very nice environment, a very great experience, apart from Combo. Combo is very warm, nice, but here you will experience the weather conditions. If you are not used to it, it is very difficult to cope with it, especially the water.
I've experienced a life which I have ever experienced before, because the Combo, it's too cold, and the environment is attractive, but right here it's too hot. The students of Bakalini, they stayed with us for over a night, because we are strangers there and we don't know the place.
This awareness campaign is another key strategy used by Associated Students Project Network to empower their fellow young people in schools. Moudlamin Sane, GRTS News.
Now, at least 8 students have completed studies at the Bilal Boarding School in Yundum. Their graduation ceremony that was held at the school grounds was graced by dignitaries, among them the Minister of Environment, Lamin Diba. Lajanke Toure reports.
عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون وقال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا لو كان
They are now called Hafizul Quran, or people who have committed the Holy Quran to memory. After 4 years of intensive study, the 13th batch of students graduate from the Bilad boarding school. Outlining the history of the institution established in 2001, proprietor Sheikh Isa Jawara happily declared that 225 students have graduated from the school so far. Further underscoring the significance of Quranic memorization, Sheikh Isa Jawara congratulated the graduating Hafiz for patiently undertaking their study and the learning of the Quran, which he describes as an act of worship, where one seeks the blessings of Allah and reward in the hereafter. The principal of the school, Abu Bakr Mane, thanked parents and urged them to continue guiding their children towards the understanding of Islam and its vast fields of study. For the guest speaker, Sheikh Imam Abdullah Fati, it's always a joy for parents to see their children complete the learning of the Holy Quran. Muslims, he added, should promote the culture of education in all aspects. With the school seemingly dominated by one cultural group, Imam Fati entreated parents to send their children to madrasas like the Bilad boarding school. The eventful graduation ceremony was also graced by the minister, Lamin Diba. His word of advice to graduates: make good use of the knowledge gained and continue your educational pursuit to greater heights. One by one, they all received their certificates, endorsing 4 intensive years of study, memorizing the Holy Quran. What follows is the great expectation in the new graduates to make better use of the knowledge acquired to enhance the teaching and understanding of Islam. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Jengature.
Well, time now to take our first break. We'll be right back.
Hey, Lynn. Hey, you look tense. What's up?
I can't help it. The internet is way too slow.
Lee, why not join the future?
How?
Why not try this?
Wow, that was really fast. Thank you.
No, thank you, sir.
For the first time in the Gambia, QCell subscribers can now enjoy 4G LTE on their 4G edible mobile phones.
At Kaiva Avenue,
Senegambia,
Brufut, Banjo,
Bakau, and Sukuta.
This means that you can now connect faster than ever before with 4G LTE speed. QCell has a wide selection of 4G LTE mobiles, dongles, and Wi-Fi routers.
QCell's 4G LTE.
To subscribe, dial *335#.
For more information, call 111.
QCell, Suyusim, Suyubos, we innovate. Orders follow. Terms and conditions apply.
Back and moving now to some sports news. The newly crowned champions of Gambia Football Federation Division 1 League, Gambia Armed Forces, will be presented the league trophy on the final day of the season. The champions, as we hear in this report by Mother S. Jallo, received a guard of honor in their last game.
The Gambia Armed Forces arrived for their penultimate game of the First Division League season to a guard of honor mounted by Gamden Football Club. The Taki boys came into the game against the Telecommunication boys as champions, having already secured the league title with 2 games to go. Despite winning the league title and with little to play for in this game, the Armed Forces could still fielded in a strong squad against a Gamden side fighting to avoid relegation.
You know, you don't just take things lightly, saying that you can field in any other player that you want to field in, but it's always fair play to field in the best players on the pitch. Remember, there are other teams that are threatened with relegation. So if you make it easy for one team, then it means that you are being biased and unfair. And I don't support lack of fair play.
Gantel came into the game needing a win to move out of the relegation zone and boost their chances of staying in the first division. The telecommunication boys got off to a perfect start by taking the lead in the 32nd minute through striker Yayan Dong, who scored from the penalty spot. Their lead, however, lasted less than a minute after Armed Forces were also awarded a penalty at the other end for a challenge in the box, which Lamin Mane converted brilliantly to put the tie one apiece, going into the half-time break. Gamtel regained their lead shortly after the half-time break when Alfuseni Jata capitalized on a goalkeeping error to put his side back in the lead. Armed Forces responded again to draw the game 2-2. Lamin Mane's cross-range finish ensured the points are shared in a 4-goal thriller. After the game, the Armed Forces coach, who has won the league in just his first season in charge, recognized the support of the Armed Forces High Command in their team's title-winning run.
We thank Allah for this great achievement. It's not been easy as it looks. Because we have a margin of roughly about 10-11 points ahead of the second, the one in second place. So, I mean, it's a good feeling.
For Gantel, this was a big opportunity missed in their relegation battle. And the reactions of the players after the game tells it all. They must now win their last game of the season if they are to stay in the top flight of Gambian football.
I'm bad about it, because creating a chance and then without converting it is always a problem. And then that has been our major problem this season.
With the league title already secured, the Armed Forces team are now enjoying the moment and eagerly waiting to finally lift the trophy.
Well, the icing on the cake for this victorious Armed Forces team will be on Sunday at Brikama on the final day of the league season, when the champions will be presented with the league trophy. That is the biggest prize in Gambian football, capping off what has been a brilliant season for the Gambia Armed Forces. They are definitely deserved winners of this league. They played some amazing football, brilliant football, much to the delight of even the neutrals and even some of their opponents. Mohamed S. Jallo, Theatre Sports, at the Serekunda Ismaili Stadium.
Well, congratulations to the Gambia Armed Forces. And from sports, we take our second break, a look at the international scene when we return.
Assalamu alaikum Gambia, sen dom la bay babu borom damay fahas malaw ya ma gëna xam ceeb bu sew di leen wax ne Africell data bundle gaaw na sella wóor te yomba maa ngi connecté wu Snapchat, Viber, Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp.
Stay connected to your friends and loved ones all around the world with the most reliable data service. With Africell super fast data, you will get to enjoy more than just video streaming, downloading pictures and movies, Snapchatting, Instagram, emailing, WhatsApping, IMO, oh, and so much more.
It simply means you can multitask with the fastest and the most efficient data service.
You want to feel speed? Well, try Africell data.
Where Africell goes, nobody
dares to follow.
Welcome back and straight to the internationals. The 16th Chinese Bridge competition for international universities has taken place in the Senegalese capital, Dakar. It showcases the Senegalese students' ability in Chinese proficiency. 10 students from different universities took part. We have details of that in this report.
Gathered at the Dakar Confucius Institute. They were here to showcase their talent in Chinese art and their competence in the Chinese language. The competition was divided into 3 parts: Chinese speech, a segment on general knowledge, and a top. It's not easy learning a foreign language, but the participants were determined to showcase their prowess in Mandarin. The number of African students participating in this competition has been growing over the years.
I would like to go to China to learn Chinese fashion and its culture in order to develop my talents. This will also allow me to have great opportunities in the Asian world.
What I retain from the Chinese people is that they are very polite, very modest and hardworking people. China has invested heavily in Senegal, specifically in the construction of several companies in the city of Gambia, as well as in the construction of the bridge of Ilatoba and many other achievements.
The competition is sponsored by the Chinese Embassy and hosted by the Confucius Institute in Dakar. It seeks to strengthen and promote cultural exchanges between China and Senegal.
I am very pleased to see that this year, the level of performance of young candidates is higher than last year. This means that as time goes on, relations between China and Senegal are only strengthening. I am also happy to see that more and more students are interested in Chinese language and culture. I am very touched to see these candidates express themselves and sing in Chinese. It is really a great success.
The winner will represent Senegal in the final competitions, which will be held in China next July. The Confucius Institute has been organizing similar competitions around the world for the last 15 years. Mahe Mutua, CGTN.
Now, South Africa's President Jacob Zuma says he supports the setting up of a commission of inquiry into his government. The Public Protector, a constitutionally mandated corruption watchdog, has called for a commission of inquiry into the state capture report into alleged influence peddling. Zuma says he was opposed to such an inquiry, but did not say when such a commission could be established. We have details of that in the CGTN News Report.
Presidency states that reports that President Jacob Zuma is opposed to the implementation of remedial action recommended by the Public Protector are incorrect. The Public Protector, an anti-corruption watchdog, released a report late last year. That report alleges that President Jacob Zuma is influenced by the Guptas, a wealthy South African family, in making government appointments. Among recommendations from that report, setting up of a commission of inquiry into corruption in Zuma's government. Zuma faced calls to resign soon after the release of that report. President Jacob Zuma has challenged that report in court, arguing that the Public Protector has no right to ask him to set up such a commission, as that is the prerogative of the president. The president is also of the view that some of the remedial action directed by the Public Protector are unlawful and unconstitutional. It's unclear when the president will establish a commission. Ladies and gentlemen, CGTN in Pretoria, South Africa.
And with that, we come to the end of this news. A quick reminder of our headline-making stories once again. Section 82 of the 1997 Constitution invoked as 25 pardoned prisoners get reunited with their families, the third of its kind since President Barrow assumed office. The need for economic independence has been a driving force for the organization of the African Union since its inception. GRTs have been looking at the possibility of an economically independent Africa. National stakeholders in the business of justice have concluded a forum aimed at mapping out a blueprint for the country's judicial and legal reforms. And South African President Jacob Zuma said he was not opposed to a commission of inquiry into his government. That was all in this edition of the news at 10. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. From myself and the rest of the team, Ramadan Mubarak.